Hello, hello. I am wanting to keep on going with this little series of videos to try to hopefully make it a little bit more digestible in shorter chunks. Um, we just got done, and if you haven't seen it yet, feel free to go back and check it out. The very first portion of this video was simply finding an example property that would be for sale by owner, for example, just so that I could find an address to search for, how to pull that property up on public records, how to find that individual property owner's information, and how to now in this video, we're going to determine what their contact information is. So how do I actually reach out to them if I wanted to try to purchase it directly, like directly from them, so direct to seller marketing, or if I wanted to reach out to them to maybe make a wholesale deal, get it at enough of a discount, if it's at enough of a discount for me to be able to turn around and offer it to a cash buyer in the area who might be interested in purchasing it. Disclaimer, I'm in Florida. Our records are very open here. Public records are very easily accessible. Um, this process may be different according to your particular location, your state, your county, but for the most part, you should have access to this stuff, so long as it's public records in general. It should be something that you're not easily, you should be able to access it somehow because we all have like county governments who do this work for all of the properties that are included within the counties. So you can do this to do your own due diligence, as I said in the last video. You can use this to conduct your own due diligence as a part of your transactions, whether you are an investor or you are a wholesaler or you are an end buyer working with a wholesaler and you're just trying to do your due diligence and make sure that everything is as it should be for a particular property. So, good way for you to do your due diligence. It is free. There is no cost associated to this unless for whatever reason it's like stated out there. But for the most part that I know of, like 95% of public records are free to access. Um, and then after that, of course, it's going to be the most accurate information. There may be some stuff that you're able to access on public records that's going to be much more up to date than if you paid for a service like PropStream or whatever the case may be, especially if you're targeting government lists for your marketing. So let's pick up where we left off. The house in question that I was looking at a little bit ago with you is this random house I pulled up on Zillow.com. It's in Marion County because I had somebody asking me about Marion County and I never looked it up before. I've never really done any work on Marion County's websites, so I figured why not? I used Zillow to find an address that I could search for to help me find an example owner to reach out to and actually get some skip tracing done. So we did that, and on this particular tab, that's where we landed, was this parcel ID number for the property that I just showed you on the Zillow side for the 1300 Northwest 63rd Place in Ocala, Florida. Now, it's owned by John Berlin and his wife, Lisette. So, what would I do with this? I can reach out on Zillow because I just happen to know that this is this is how I found it. It's a for sale by owner right now. This gentleman is wanting to sell his property. So he took it upon himself and listed it for sale on Zillow as a for sale by owner. So Zillow provides this random phone number to help maintain his anonymity and his privacy. They provide him this phone number so that if people call inquiring about his home, it's not like he's got his literal cell phone listed on the open internet. But let's say that I was just driving around in the neighborhood, or I'm just interested in this property. I'm driving for dollars. I saw this gorgeous house. Maybe they had like one of those little for sale by owner signs out in the front yard or whatever, and I'm trying to verify ownership or whatever the case may be. I would then use the county information to verify whether or not, what's the name of the owner, what's the deal with all of that. And then once I have that found, which I did in this case, is John Berlin and Lisette, I will use that to then turn around and locate contact information. The two free ones that you can use that I recommend generally to like everybody, I get really great results with cyber background checks. So much so that it's on my freaking homepage. Cyberbackgroundchecks.com is similar to truepeoplesearch.com, which is another free platform that you can get phone numbers at. I'm telling you though, like I have really great luck with cyber background checks. I will oftentimes get a hold of a phone number that even if it's wrong, it comes up as an iPhone. So a little bit of a side note, I have tried to use a free phone number service provider, like Google Voice. It works great. For me, it doesn't work for my brain because it feels like it comes across, like the notifications come across in such a way that it's kind of confusing for me. I understand it's not probably the best practice to have my like I'm calling people off my personal phone number for my cell phone, but I just can't right now. So whatever. I do like that as I find someone's phone number, like on cyber background checks, it happens very often that I find someone who has an iPhone. For me, that's really kind of cool because sometimes people have their red receipts on. So you're like, oh, okay, so this is an active phone number. Like it may not be my person. My person may not answer me. They may not text me back, but I know it's a good number, you know? So for me, it's kind of nice because I'm not just randomly texting or calling disconnected phone numbers. Like if there's an iPhone associated with it and it's an active number that took and received my text message, it's probably a good number. Whether it's the right number for John Berlin or not is a different story. Now, I can't show on YouTube. Oh my gosh, on YouTube, I cannot show phone numbers. That's a no-no, according to YouTube's terms and conditions. However, I can show you a couple of different things. I will be blurring out what I can here. However, this is like one of the ways that you can see the person's information. It's going to give you a little snapshot of them. So it'll tell me the name John Berlin. The address that I suspected that he lived at is this 1300 Northwest 63rd place, and it's listed right here as his address. If it's not here, a lot of times I will find it in the used to live. Like it'll be associated down here somewhere. So that's kind of nice to know because even if this is a little bit outdated, it may still show up in his used to live or like associated properties or properties that he owns currently. So the first thing that I would do is go in through here. I would hit view details. Get the ad out of the way. I would view details and I would keep going on here. As you know, whenever you go to look this up, it'll show on there the likelihood, well, to me, it indicates a likelihood of it being the person's correct phone number. If it says that it's a wireless number and it is as of whatever's the latest date. So like if there's one that comes up on here and it's for last used on or last reported as of, you know, July of 2024, like that's fairly recent, especially if it says, because it will say if it's a wireless or a landline or like a voice over IP. So that's really kind of helpful. There's also email addresses out here that they may be associated with if you wanted to send them an actual email, which is a interesting tactic. I haven't used it, but you can, or strategy, I should say. And then here's, of course, their history information about what addresses he has owned, or like this is what Cyber Background Checks believes that he owns these. And then you can also look up down here possible relatives and possible associates. The thing I love about this is, if you noticed from the previous screen with the county, Lisette is his wife. She's coming up on here under his possible associates. I could click on that and it'll take me to her record as well with cyber background checks, which shows her at the same address, and it also shows a phone number for Lisette. They don't have as much information fleshed out on here for her, but there is some. So if I tried to reach out to Mr. Berlin and he didn't answer, my next step would be to also be messaging Lisette because she is co-owner of the property. She's also a decision maker when it comes to selling that home. So that's literally it. Now, this can be weird, especially when you have a lot of Hispanic homeowners. If you, like me, are working in Florida, if you end up like in South Florida, even to be honest, like Orlando, I'm sure that you'll see this a lot in Texas and New Mexico and like these places where you have a lot of Hispanic homeowners, property owners, or whatever. If you try to search for somebody, you may not actually get their record. They have so many different formats for people's last names. If they use one last name, two last names, they're hyphenated, not hyphenated, whatever the case may be. Let's say, for example, John Berlin was like a more complicated name or individual, or if it was like John Smith, that's the other extreme. Very, very simple, but extremely common. So if I go on cyber background checks and it's telling me that there's 3,000 million John Smith, which they probably are, to be honest. Let's just run it real quick. Um, if you try to search for John Smith in Ocala, Florida, now you've got 22,000 of them. John David, John Daniel, John K, John Sr., John Jr., John whoever. What I would do is then search by address. And it'll tell you, cyber background checks will tell you, what did I just type? It'll tell you the likely owners of that particular address. So you can search by whatever information you have on hand. So I searched by name because I had his name. But if his name isn't giving me the right results or if it's just too convoluted, I'm going to move over to addresses because I know the address for the house now. I verified that both on Zillow.com and also on the property appraiser's office. I can also search reverse engineering, searching for the phone number. Okay, my husband just got home with the kids, so I wanted to pause and then get back to it real quick. So, as I was saying, you can search on here on cyber background checks for the actual address instead, if that's what you actually have on hand. This is a good way to search for the homeowner's information, but the most accurate information, like I said, is going to be on the public record. So you can definitely start. And the reason why I say that is because when you hit it like this by the address and you search for it, it's most likely going to generate a whole list. So this is what cyber background checks has. Now, these could be individuals that lived at that house at some point in time. It could be people who owned that house beforehand. So, like, if you already see, we've already got 3 different people, 4 different people. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Now we have John Berlin, who we know is the public record reflected owner on file. So I would much rather make sure. Now, obviously, if you look at it here, you're like, oh, okay, so it says that he lives there at that address right now. So more than likely, he is the current owner and the current resident. But I personally don't have time for all that. So I would much rather just have the information on hand and then come back and search for it by name. However, this is a really good alternative for trying to match up, like I said, when you have someone with a weird name, like an unusual name or a weirdly formatted name. It can be a good way to like try to match up who is the person versus who is the actual record for their phone number. So this is essentially it. We've covered, in the first video, we covered how to actually locate a particular property. Oh my goodness. Locate a address for that property. Using the address, we can go back and find the person's property record card through the public records of the county in order to find their name. Once we have their name, then we can turn around and skip trace it to find a phone number in the event that we don't have that phone number already, and in the event that you're not going to end up using like that generated spoof number from Zillow. And then this is the process right here where you would then begin you can like literally start calling. see what numbers is on there. You can start calling, just going off the list. And I literally will go whatever the most recent, like last reported phone number is. And I prioritize the wireless number that is the newest one, or like the one that was most recently reported. Go down from there, and then I'll try the landline numbers. So that's how I end up getting the information for the homeowners. I have done this countless times because I can't tell you. I mean, I pay for some skip tracing, but it's only like here and there. Very randomly will I pay for it. And it's only if it's somebody that I literally can't seem to find, and this house seems to be like incredible to try to reach out to them. So this is proven. I can tell you it works. If you decided to use it, you could literally go here. So as far as this goes, this will get you from the point in time that you find a property, whether it be driving by the house, um, finding it on a website, finding it on a Facebook Marketplace post for sale by owner, finding it on Zillow, all the way to the point that you have their phone number. And then that way you're able to turn around and then use that phone number to reach out to them and see if they would be interested in possibly selling their home. In this case of Mr. Berlin, obviously he is interested in selling it because he currently has it listed for sale by owner on Zillow. That's another unspoken benefit to for sale by owner. A lot of times we try to task ourselves with the burden of like convincing a property owner to sell us their house for a discount. Maybe you're targeting them with your marketing due to a particular distressing situation, like a death in the family, a divorce, pre-foreclosure, bankruptcy, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, you're trying to convince them to sell you their house, um, for sell by owner, and those that were on the market and maybe have already expired or they've been on the market for a really long time is one of the reasons why people like to reach out to real estate agents, is because that particular hurdle has already been overcome. The answer has already been questioned. The question has already been answered. Yes, I want to sell my house. So that's at least one less little barrier before you actually move forward and have to start figuring everything else out. So I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to stop this particular video here so that way it makes it a little bit more digestible for what we've covered in this video, part 2. And I'm going to have to figure out, like, from here, what would the next step be? Typically, the next step is going to be the conversation with the seller, opening up conversation, opening up the dialogue, building a rapport with them, and seeing if they would be interested in moving forward with a formal offer. And how would you do that? How do you how do you come up with the comps on that? Um, it's probably the next logical step. So yeah, thanks so much for joining me today. Hope this was helpful for you. Hit a like if you like it. Hit a dislike if you don't like it. Hit me a comment below. Let me know what other questions you have that I can answer for you. I'd be happy to make some more videos specific for that. And yeah, I think that's it for now. Sounds good. I hope you had a fantastic day, and let's get to work.